Welcome to This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty, the number one destination for Seinfeld fans. This is Two Up and Two Down. Here's our producer, Chris, to start us off.
All right, welcome back for another episode of Two Up and Two Down. Today we have a great season 4 episode, The Opera. So, Tony, what do you got for your first up here?
Yeah, Opera, season 4. What can I say? We'll get there. I have so many ups for this one. But I have, since I'm going first, Crazy Joe Davola, fear is our most primal emotion. I like to encourage intruders. I mean, Crazy Joe Davola just absolutely steals the show. One of my favorite off characters. Just him and Elaine, the whole scene. I'll go with that scene. You could pick and choose. I know it's a broad one, but Davola, really just him saying fear is our most primal emotion. I like to encourage intruders. I mean, writing those lines is just incredible. I love Davola, and we'll get there, but that's a thumbs up on the Opera for me.
All right, very good. I mean, I have another Joe Davola quote from this episode, but I'll save it till later. Let's go over you, Chris. What do you got for your first up here?
Davola, all-timer, for sure. The Opera, Larry Charles, full of ups, the darkness, just incredible episode. I'm going to go with the tuxedo scene when they come into Jerry's apartment. Just classic. I mean, George, what can I tell you that out? I mean, unbelievable. Jerry's cleaning up nice, as Kramer says. And then Kramer, of course, comes in no tux. And, obviously Jerry's upset. And I tell people dress up for the opera. People do. I don't. I mean, love it. And then I love where, all right, I'm changing out of this. You can't change out of this. We're friends. If I'm going to be uncomfortable, so should you. So that whole scene with the tuxes, and then they actually start talking about scalping tickets. It's just, wow. The way they jam all that in there, from the tux to the friendship to the scalping tickets, all within probably 2 minutes. I mean, Larry Charles at his best. Thumbs up.
I agree. You're absolutely right. This feels like an episode that's much longer than 22 minutes. So, yeah, that's a great insight there. Tony, back to you. What's your second up?
Both exactly points. I wrote that down. This feels like a longer episode. There's so much packed into this episode. It's incredible. Those scenes you just mentioned. I mean, you threw a lot out there. You threw a lot in there. I mean, George's entrance with the tuxedo beats the Gore-Tex in my opinion. Just walking in all stiff. I mean, incredible. You covered a lot there. I'm going to give then mine's kind of broad too, but I think Jerry is amazing in this episode. I'm going to use the outside the opera just as an overture, singing the overture. I feel tough with this opera crowd. Everything. Tough top to bottom. I mean, Jerry, when they find out, Crazy Joe Davola, how do you know his name? The whole thing there with him and Elaine outside the opera. Jerry in general, just incredible. Calling the cops. He's threatening me. Everything. Kibosh, gonna put the kibosh. I mean, speaking of the Kramer thing, you're the manana. You stir the drink, and Jerry's like, "Oh, if I'm the manana, I guess just everything, man." We'll get to it, but. I'm giving Jerry an up outside the opera, singing overture and being a tough guy. That's my up.
All right, nice one. Chris, back to you. What's your second up here?
Yeah, you forgot Jerry dropping the quarter. You think I care about money? He rips with the dollar. I mean, unbelievable. For me, it's what an episode, but the whole just scalping with George and Kramer, get your Pagliacci's, and this is not a Metallica concert. And then obviously we meet the great Harry Fong, big opera buff, and, he sticks the money in his pocket when Susan gets there. The whole scalping scene, and then obviously the guy from the wedding yelling at George. I mean, just there's so much going on in each episode. Great points. It felt longer, which makes it just so special. So yeah, scalping scene. Get your Pagliacci's. Second thumbs up.
All right, great. I mean, the one line that I like from Davola is when he's leaving the answering machine message on Jerry's machine, and he goes, "I've kiboshed before, and I'll kibosh again." So I always love that. But now we got to do downs, and I mean, such a great episode. This is going to be a stretch here, I think. So, Tony, what's your first down if you got one?
Yeah, downs were hard. I'll be nitpicking a little bit, I think, on these downs. I have a few written down. You know, it's hard to say this as a down, but I have to find a down, and just rewatching, I'm trying to find like anything I could pick out. And I think it all comes back. There's a reason for it, but I don't love it. The clown that gets online with them and kind of yells at Jerry and gives a whole speech to Jerry when he's asking for change, and Jerry's like, give it to that guy. I'm not sure why it was there. I guess just to show that clowns dress up, because Javola dresses up too. I don't know. I just, Larry Charles, we just talked, he threw so much into this episode. I think that's something maybe he didn't need to throw in, or I just didn't land with me. So just that kind of clown and Jerry having that little conversation, and I don't know, there was really no point to it, honestly, and it wasn't that funny. It just kind of fell. I don't know. It's kind of this clown just yelling at him online. That's my down.
Chris, back to you. What do you got for your first down?
Well, what I will say, it's opening night, black tie, Pagliacci, the great clown, the great sad, tragic clown. So that was the theme of the opera. So I guess that's why he was there. But my one down, it's kind of a throwaway line. I just never really liked it. It's Jerry. I guess when he's calling the cops and he goes, I'm a comedian of the United States. I'm under just as much pressure. Like, I don't know. I never liked it. I never thought it was funny. Like, so it's a throwaway line. Jerry trying to be funny. He probably wrote that line. Down.
Okay, very good. Tony, we're going to go back to you now. What's your second down?
Yeah, I wrote down I'm a comedian in the United States as one of my downs as well. And to your point earlier, but do people dress up to go to the opera like they're tailgating for a football game? But the guy dresses up like a clown to go to the. I still don't get it. But anyway, I'm a comedian in the United States. I wrote that down as well. My other down, and again, nitpicking here, is the ending. Kramer just being like, who'd you sell your ticket to? Some nut in a clown suit. That's like a sitcom ending. It's kind of just like, like end it right there. And then we all laugh. But like Seinfeld doesn't usually do that kind of ending, because now we're all thinking like, well, then Joe Davola would have showed up. And so it's like, why say that? Or Jerry and Lee should have ran out something where it just like freezes at the end. It just feels too sitcom-y for me. Too a weird word, but too perfect the way they just wrapped it up at that punchline at the end. Some nut in a clown suit. It's a funny line, I suppose, but I just don't like the way they tie it all back to kind of like Crazy Joe's. It could be there or is going to be there. So that's my down.
All right, there. Chris, what do you got for your second down?
Yeah, well, he was going to sit next to Harry Fong. That was the only open seat with at the end there as well. Second down, I don't know why this scene also always, and I could hear the voice. You could hear it. He goes, "Make us laugh, clown," and then Crazy Joe just beats the crap out of all those guys in the park. Like, I don't know. Like, did we need that? Like, I don't know. Like, we know he's crazy. And we just talked about, like, this felt like a long episode, and maybe with scenes like this that made it a little extra long, and they didn't need it. They could have made it a little tighter. Again, I'm nitpicking here. Like, I kind of get it, like, but I don't think they needed it. Like, we know he's crazy. We didn't need him beating up 4 guys in the park on the way to Pagliacci. And then that guy, again, I could just hear it in my head, "Make us laugh, clown," in my head. Down.
So now let's wrap it up with grades. Tony, we're going to start with you this time. What's your grade here?
Yeah, I like the Vol. I like the guy. What did you clown? This is what we're talking about. This is Larry. This is Larry Charles. I mean, this is like perfect Larry Charles. Almost too. I mean, so much in here. So dark. So many. Crazy Joe Vol. It's just. I mean, it's incredible. The scene with Elaine. This is one of my. This is a top episode for me. I love this episode every time I watch it. I've been going back and forth on grades. I'm really just leaning between two. I think I'm going to give it an A, just a solid A. I was leaning towards an A plus. I really want to give it an A plus. I just think there's some of the things we touched on. There might be just not enough there. It's so good though. I'm not going to argue if someone gives it an A plus. I can't see this going too much lower than A minus. I give it an a solid A. It's an incredible, top 25 probably episode, which could tinker on an A plus, I suppose, as I say it. Just a Lane Crazy Joe Davola stuff. Harold likes to say, should a guest star elevated all the way. I can't make it an A plus because of that. I can't give it an A plus just because of Crazy Joe Davola, though I'd love to. Opera gets an A from me.
Yeah, I like that. I like that grade. I'll agree with that. So, Chris, what do you got for your grade here?
Yeah, you're convincing me at this last second here, but then your last line there convinced me even more. I think the key to a plus episode is when the big four are, cranking on all cylinders. I think we get 3 out of 4. I don't think Elaine really brings it. She's a secondary to Joe, to obviously Crazy Joe elevating, but her spraying the thing or mentioning Joey, like, I don't know, help me out here. Was there any other Elaine that really got you excited?
I'm a day person. That whole scene with Crazy Joe was enough, but as you're saying it, I'm getting your point. That is not enough of her, probably. I think I give Crazy Joe way more credit than you do. That's where the A comes.
No. And I think that's right. I love Crazy Joe as well. And again, we're nitpicking here, like I said, and Larry Charles, I love, but I'm going to give the opera an A minus, but it's a 93.5 kind of A minus, if you know what I mean. So wonderful episode. And it really gives that New York vibe. And I love that they did that. Like no other show has that at the opera, right? And New York and scalping and just, you're right. Kramer was Kramer. Well, I think him and Jerry stole the show for sure. And then Susan, little throwaway at the end, whatever. But, A minus, I think it's still a great score for the Pantheon of the show.
Yeah, appreciate you guys with your ups and downs and grades for this episode. So that wraps it up, and we'll see you at the next one.